Everyone, Temporal here, and I wanted to go ahead and do a review of the China versus Canada match. I picked this one because we got to see the Protect the Zarya comp that China came out with here, and we got to see some nice extended use of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this guy started. Let's let the clock roll down.
3, 2, 1.
And make sure we finalize comps.
Incoming. Defend objective A.
Okay, so comps are final at this point. We've done any scout swapping that Canada's going to do, and as we can see, they won't be doing that because they've already actually brought their people out, not just their Sombra. So China is choosing to defend with a Sombra Doomfist dive comp, and they're being a little greedy in running the Zen and the Ana together there. Canada, on the other hand, is attacking with Cyber Dive, pretty normal version of the comp there. They're running the Genji Sombra. So, looking at China, China had the harder decision to make here in that they had to defend point A when Canada is on top of their spawn and can swap into a counter comp here. And China's defense choice is a little bit interesting to me, that they went with the full Sombra Doomfist dive as opposed to a softer matchup, more generalist matchup that wins its matchups less hard but also loses them less hard. I'd have preferred to see the Sombra Genji here on defense, as the Sombra Doomfist does get countered pretty hard by the Briggs McCree comp, the Protect the McCree. That said, China has made what I'd say is a really good decision in choosing this comp here, in that if they're going to run a comp and they have to pick a comp and Canada has the counter option, they've picked the comp that is countered by the comp that has the hardest time on this map. Protect the McCree doesn't do a fantastic job attacking point A. They kind of have to path through the high ground here, so they need to path this way. Oh, controls let me go through walls now. They kind of need to take this space up here and then sit their backline up here to do work. And it's hard to transition that comp through the choke, because usually Protect the McCree is played with a Winston Diva, and that doesn't really give you enough cover to take this path in most situations. You're a little too open through that choke. So I like their decision to be on that side of the counter triangle with dive here to force Canada to take a poor composition for the map if they want to win the counter triangle. Canada chooses not to do that. Canada has instead decided to go with a relatively even matchup. They're playing dive versus dive here. They're playing the dive comp that, in my mind, has the slight advantage. I prefer playing the Genji comp into the Doomfist comp, but China has bought back some or all of that advantage by running the Zen Ana here. If the fight goes long at all, running those two gets you more value than the Lucio Ana, so they're potentially looking to win there. The trade-off there is Canada can out-rotate them to eventually get on top of their backline. But anyway, that's what we're looking at, so let's kind of start to get into this. And here we are. Excuse me, I'll try and mute those in future. So it looks like Sherfour's not ahead of his team, which is unusual. Sherfour being in his team as a stealth Sombra there is too likely to take spam damage that is meant for his team, not him. In my mind, he should already be through the choke. He's kind of messed up by not being through here. He should have already started exploring from his perspective to the right. This rotation is late from him. Now he's starting to separate, and that's better. But then he goes the same way. Okay, that's not the end of the world. So Canada's rotated through here. And as we look at this, we know we are past the 15-second mark, so Canada can press tab and see China's composition and know that they are running the Doomfist. Oh, I did fail to point out that China is running the Zarya instead of the Diva in this comp. Usually this comp would use a Diva. That's okay. China's liked their Zarya play in general a little more than the rest of the world. It doesn't hugely change how the comp plays, but it does give you an extra viable dive target in that diving Zarya is acceptable. You can burst a Zarya down. So, looking at this, Doomfist Dive, or Doomfist Sombra Dive, is a bit more limited in where it can dive to. More traditional dive comps can set up, do their staging, and then dive to pretty wide areas, dive onto people. Doomfist dive comps are more limited in where Doomfist can dive to. He has to stage to high ground and then use his mobility from that high ground to get to very specific spots. I really like where Leave is for a couple reasons. Leave can go from there to this island. He can punch across and then slam and do quite nice there, or he can drop if the team try and rotates through here and just slam right onto them. So I like that, but beyond that, he's actually hard to see. Surefour for sure hasn't seen him yet. If Surefour rotates over to these stairs, still won't see him. So Leave being there and not being figured out means that Canada doesn't know where he is, and they don't know where his kill box is, where China needs their dive to happen. So Canada can't really avoid rotating through it without knowing where it is. So in my mind, Surefour should have already been through, like I mentioned earlier, should have already been looking for Leave. And since he hasn't found him yet, Canada's gonna not really want to hard push through areas that could be his kill box. Instead, they can get poke advantage. Usually, Canada's comp would have a nice poke advantage, and that Agilities can be farming up Blade pretty safely and is going to do more in that poke battle than a Doomfist, particularly a hidden Doomfist, is going to do. But China's kind of evened out that poke advantage by having this Zen Ana setup. With the Zen and the Ana, they can send out volleys with Discord volleys, they can send out nades, whereas Canada does not have those volleys. Canada can't get picks like that. They don't have as much range damage. So this is a little more even. Canada could still just go the, hey, let's try and let our Genji do farm stuff while our Sombra continues to look for the Doomfist. Ultimately, how Canada would like to engage is once they know where that Doomfist is, they can move through his kill box and either hack him as he comes in or hack him as they move through it so that he can't commit, and then they can properly execute their dive. Either if they let him come in, then hacked him, they kill the Doomfist immediately. If not, they walk through his kill box and then dive someone else while he's hacked and can't contribute value. So that would be how I'd like them to play this. And from China's perspective, China is playing this great. They've kept their Doomfist hidden. They'll execute their dive as Canada tries to walk through there. So you hear the point starting to unlock here, and that's because Surefour unstealthed. So Surefour decided it was taking too long to find the Doomfist and that he needed to instead apply point pressure. That's reasonable. That's a way to make their comp do something. It's a way to make them kind of move. Perhaps it'll get Doomfist to reveal himself before you've rotated through his kill box, but also it will force China to rotate someone to point. And dive comps in general get a pretty good benefit from diving other teams as they're in transition, as they're rotating from one place to another. So Surefour pressuring point like this could very well cause the backline of China, including Late Young there, or just Late Young, to start to rotate to point, and that could open up a very nice window to dive one or more of them as they get separated from the rest of the group, or separated from where the rest of the group can protect them. So Late Young's lost some significant health there. XQC went ahead and took the high ground so that he could drop and be additional pressure on point if someone comes to chase in Surefour. Unfortunately, it looks like the kill box is going to happen on note here. So Leave is diving in, and this is actually really nice. So what ends up happening here is Gwekse, I'll probably mispronounce his name 100 times during this, but he's out there. He goes deep to block out the enemy supports, knowing that he's going to get additional help from his team in the form of the Zarya bubble. So he's not afraid to go in there pretty deep into what was 3 people. He went into both Banny and Crimzo, as well as Note, who's right there. Note can generally do pretty decent damage to a Winston, but he dives in pretty deep there to block off the supports so that Crimzo would have to walk into the bubble to do anything, and Crimzo's not going to want to do that, and that's then going to let his Sombra, his Doomfist, him, and even his Zenyatta and Ana have nice line of sight to really just chunk down Note here. That's what I expect to happen. Oh, no cutout, so maybe that's okay. Maybe they'll be just fine here. And it looks like we had some nice damage done. XQC traded out some nice damage. Should be able to force that kill on Yetvil at the back there while Surefour is pressuring point. Surefour is going to go ahead and warp out. And then China is going to come back hard to peel, but Agilities is going to go in with XQC. They did get that kill on Yetvil there. So if I look at this, this guy's already used nade, is missing about 40 health, and we've got Agilities and XQC in here. Can't support them yet. That bubble's still up. This could be close in here. Hits that sleep. That's probably the end of this push. Okay, nice, nice. So we've got 2 support kills there. Canada should pretty easily be able to win this just through a respawn advantage at this point. They went ahead, they went in deep. Agilities went in and was ready to trade out for the second support's life there. Ended up getting out the back door just in time there, and then Crimzo was able to connect on him with a shot. So this is a pretty easy cleanup for Canada at this point. So that's a lightning fast take there. 1 minute take on first. And now Canada needs to push in to take second. Usually what Canada's comp can do is it can, when attacking A, charge up Nanoblade and EMP, and if they don't take A within a couple pushes, hopefully sometime before that 2-minute mark, they can all in with EMP and Nanoblade and just win the point like that. And if they don't need it to take the point, they get to use that EMP and Nanoblade to snowball second. That's usually how this works out. But because Canada took first really so cleanly there, they don't actually have their ults yet. Genji is having to come in here and still try and farm up his blade before the fight starts. If we actually go back a few seconds, he actually has already done a pretty good job farming that up. Let's go here. So he's at 86% and he's already farming, and now he's going to get up to 90% here. So looking at this, now they've got Nanoblade, and China doesn't have anything, and they should know that, because Yetvil just swapped from Zenyatta to Lucio. So Canada is looking to take this fight quickly. The one thing that they do have to respect is Doomfist can buy China into the fight easily, especially as on attacking Anubis second, you have to walk through very easy kill boxes. This is an incredibly easy kill box. This is a pretty easy kill box, and you're not going to want to rotate your Genji Sombra comp through here into a Doomfist in the enclosed room like that. He's got better brawling power. So their decision to go mid isn't awful. It's a little one-dimensional, but they want to take this fight quickly because they have Nanoblade and China has no ults. They want to force this fight quickly, get their ult combo off, kill a couple supports, and try and just win the fight through sustain from there. China, on the other hand, needs to get that Doomfist value to stop this. If they can get a quick kill with their Doomfist, that's going to take most of the legs off of this, and they'll be able to stall this out with respawn advantage. So there's the Nanoblade. They connect up for the Nano, and Agilities is going to go deep, and Agilities gets both supports. Most of the time, that should be a one fight, but the way 2CP works, you still have to potentially win a second fight to really cap it there, but they should pretty easily be able to get a tick off of this. It is important, though, at this point that Canada moves to the top of their kill priority, leave. They've got to handle Doomfist because Doomfist is the way that China buys back into this fight. Pick up a third kill there. Pick up a fourth kill, but leaves starts to get them back into this fight with that kill on XQC. If we want to go check on leave, Leave is over here. Leave got his kill. So that's a problem. Now it's less of a problem. Leave is dead. So Canada has a real chance here to make serious progress.
My APM.
That nano boost is huge. It pretty much got full, it did get full heal value on Late Young, got the full 300 HP restored from that nano boost, and that's big right now, because now that first wave of supports that both died at the same time are coming back, and we have to fight through a Nano Diva, and if we look at where Canada's damage dealers are, they're not really in a place to help Note kill this Diva quickly. Sureforce coming back from what looks like grabbing a health pack, probably a translocator trip. Note's pretty much having to just waste his defense matrix to stay alive against Late Young there, since Late Young had the nano. And if we look at this, China's really stabilized. It's now Canada on the back foot. XQC isn't back yet. Canada's missing a lot of health, and everyone on China's side is alive. So this suddenly turned, and it was really off the back of that nano boost right there. So to try and return this, and it's reasonable to return this here because XQC is almost back, Sureforce is going to go ahead and EMP. So if they can get real good kill value during that EMP, there's a potential to turn this. And thinking about ults that are available, you might want to break Late Young's mech before he gets another remech opportunity with Nano. But really, your top priority ults, or your top priority kills, are going to be on Ana and Doomfist with what you're playing into right now. From China's perspective, you just have to weather the storm, keep your Doomfist alive, and eventually he'll buy you back into the fight. Note gets the nice self-destruct value with the EMP there, gets the DMAC, and Late Young was at 90% to self-destruct, so that's pretty darn big for stopping the sustain on the point, and they get Guexei. So this is a real chance now for Canada to get some actual progress on this point, lock in a tick or two, because they cleared the tanks both at once, and your tanks are your best tools for contesting a point. Shieldys picks up a couple dash kills, but Leave kills XQC again. Banny. So, that's a mistake on Banny's part. If we take another look at this. Banny's near a wall. Banny's near a pillar. That pillar is totally usable. Banny needed to be on that pillar. If he's on the pillar, he can, in a hurry, change his trajectory and get distance from anywhere that meteor strike is going to land. When he's just on the ground like that, he's kind of dead. And now he messes up worse and strafes into the center of it. So that's a mental mistake there, unfortunate. And that's the second kill that they had recently. XQC is still on his way back. So even though China's down both supports here, this is going to be hard to get any more progress on.
You better get out of the way.
Comes back with Primal. I like what they're doing here. So even though their point feels pressured, even though Canada's on the point, the decision is to use Primal to go deep and try and find kills in the back line from China, rather than to stall point. That is the proper way to use Primal. His off-tank is alive. His off-tank can handle the point. He's also now got a Tracer, since Crystal went from Sombra to Tracer, and Tracer can also take over point stall opportunities. It is better to use Primal to find kills in a scenario like this where you're defending a fight that you're down in than it is to go ahead and just try and stall with Primal. Using Primal to stall is the least useful of the valid ways to use Primal.
Nerf this.
I don't love that blade. I believe Agility's pulled that blade after one of those two Primal kills came in, but it was probably close enough that he hadn't noticed yet. Regardless, we've invested pretty hard in this fight. This fight didn't really seem winnable to me when Agility's pulled that blade. That said, Blade and Nano are lined up, so if they stay on this comp, at least that will continue to be in cycle. They're not going to stay on this comp, though. It looks like they're moving towards Protect the Hanzo. And is China going to keep the Tracer? Is China going to keep the Tracer? No, they're not. They're going to swap over to Briggs as well. So right now we're looking at Protect the Hanzo from Canada and Protect the Doomfist, which isn't really a comp, from China. That said, Leave has an incredible Doomfist, absolutely incredible, so it's not flooring me to see that comp out of China. And Protect the Hanzo is a valid composition. Usually when you're using, it's basically a variant of Protect the McCree that uses Hanzo instead. It's not as good against dive as Protect the McCree in that you give up the stun, but it's still pretty darn solid against them. If Hanzo gets dove, he leaps away, and then Storm Arrow is better than Fan the Hammer for killing whoever dove in on him. And if someone else gets dove, same thing. He Storm Arrows and just melts them with the help of what would usually be a Discord and Agility's beating on the target, stunning it if necessary. So that all makes sense. Crimso's still on Ana, and that's weird to me. China's doing the same thing where they're keeping Sky on Ana in this comp. Not having the Discord is not really something I would recommend. You don't need the Ana here. You get a lot more value out of the Zen, but that's the decision that they've both made, so we'll go with it. All I can imagine is that one or both of these teams have decided that the other team's diva isn't doing a good job of eating anti-nade, so they think they can get more value out of the Ana than they would from the Zenyatta. If you respect the other team's diva and you think the other team's diva is good, you're going to get more value out of running your Zen and having that boost from the Discord orb. But Nade can catch up to that value if the other team's diva isn't doing a good job of eating Nade. So maybe they both think the other team's diva is bad. That's best I've got right now. It really isn't the right answer there because neither of them is really close to ult either. Sky 51%, that's not enough to justify sticking. Crimzo 21%, definitely isn't enough to justify, and he retreated all the way back to his spawn, so he should have made that swap. So I like this. So when we look at these two comps, the way that Canada can win on this point is they want to get significant poke value out of their Hanzo before the fight starts. And if we look at this point, the sightlines kind of suck. Like if Hanzo walks in here, it's not great. He can get up here and kind of have decent shots. If he walks through mid, the sightlines absolutely suck. If he walks left, the sightlines suck pretty much too. And if he rotates all the way in through left, he's too easy to dive for people to get on, etc. So the sightlines aren't good for a poke comp, which is really what Protect the comps are, and Surefour is making the best of it he can by taking this high ground here. If Surefour can get up here, that's going to be the best sightline he can get on second, and he's going to need his tanks to help him establish and control this. Once he gets firm control of this, China is not going to have very good ways of poking him down, so he'll be able to do a lot of work from here once they've forced away the other tanks. From China's perspective, they want that brawly fight. They want to make them move through here so that they can take advantage of their Doomfist. They need to contest that high ground with their tanks and hopefully get their Doomfist up there to help contest as well if this is what they're going to run. So OWWC being pre-positioned up there, trying to drive them off. That's correct. He's going to get fought back at, and now we've really got a 3v2 going on up there. The sightlines are better for Sky to help his teammates than they are for Crimzo to help his teammates, but not significantly so, and Agilities is right there to throw up armor packs as well. So Canada should be able to force the Chinese tanks away and then let Surefour do work from up top. And ultimately, that is what happens. Surefour, even with less than half health, is happy to chill up there. He knows he can do work from up there, and he isn't in too much danger, even though he's low health and harder to heal up there than he would be on the ground, because China doesn't have great ways to poke at him. The most threatening poke that's going to be sent his way is going to be the Anna taking a shot at him. We do see Leave went ahead and just made the swap over to Zarya, but they don't really get to engage into this fight cleanly unless there's a mini little reset. And Canada, while Canada is unlikely to dive in deep to try and force this fight, they're probably going to pressure out and get a significant poke lead from Surefour up there. China, on the other hand, wants to hide, take cover, kind of restabilize, let a cycle of cooldowns come back, and then they're going to want to let their Winston jump at Surefour, because Winston kind of is their poke. And when I say Winston is their poke, I mean sending a bubbled monkey with a Harmony Orb, no Harmony Orb right now, but sending a bubbled monkey with the possibility of having an armor pack thrown on him at a DPS on high ground is a pretty good way to drive off that DPS. And we're going to see China do that a lot when they play this composition. Send in Guexei with a lot of ranged resources to support him, while the other 5 players mostly stick together and follow up behind him as a group. The entire team moving forward, including their flex support. So at this moment, Anna and later Zen. So this is pretty much what Canada wants. They're working themselves up a nice health lead from their poke with Surefour up top, and China needs to stabilize. So this is solid from XQC. So in order to not let Surefour get jumped, Canada's tanks need to consolidate their advantage. They have plenty of health, so they need to push up and take this space so that the Chinese tanks can't get close enough to stage a good dive onto Surefour up there. They want to not let those tanks get close enough without having to tank trade through health, etc. That primal was a touch early, XQC. Meanwhile, we see Guexei goes into the backline. So as XQC comes in to work on China's backline, China sends in Guexei to work on Canada's backline. And that may seem even, but it's actually not. And the reason for that is that China can afford to put more resources with this comp because they have that extra resource in the form of the Zarya bubble into their solo, quote-unquote, diving Winston than Canada can into their solo diving Winston. So here we are. We've got both tanks diving, and so far in the ult world, we've seen Canada pop Primal. And with the Primal, they do get that D-Mech there, so that's worth something. And then Note's broken off and is taking this weird fight with Leave. I would prefer Note be helping peel Guexei right now. So, XQC got his D-Mech kill. I'd have liked him to then go kill Late Young. Killing Briggs wasn't really an option. Killing Lucio would have been too hard with the Briggs still there. And killing Skye is reasonable. Going over to try and force a kill on Skye, who is separated from the rest of his team, is a reasonable break-off. I'd have preferred the kill on Baby Diva there, but finishing off Skye, perfectly reasonable. On the flip side, Guexei going ahead and backing off a little bit, has some nice damage against agilities. No Discord Orbs in play yet because we're still seeing Anna on both sides. So this is nice for Canada. They've gone ahead and picked up the kill on Crystal there. Note was able to come in and finish that off with agilities, so they teamed up for that. And the sound barrier was not in time to help Crystal, and the sound barrier doesn't get on to Late Young. So in terms of turn of events, that's going to look pretty darn great for Canada. Hopefully they can do something with this for them. XQC gets slept, but immediately woken up. Canada's mostly functioning in XQC's bubble while they wait for the sound barrier to tick down. And Note's going to go for a self-destruct there. Fine, that's a remake. And then we look at this, and we've got Leave trying to push back, and Leave's pretty high energy, trying to push back agilities. Late Young's offering some range support, and Guexe is going to be able to come in from the side there. So I actually expect that agilities has the nade in effect, and where is Crimzo? Crimzo. Crimzo, you're way over here. Agilities is probably dead then. And elsewhere, the tanks are fine for Canada. They might be able to get on Canada's supports there, but I wouldn't count on it. So XQC is going to come back to Peel. And now Guexe has gone ahead and popped Primal. But Leave went ahead and got that kill as he pushed up on Surefour, who was tucked over here. So now when we look at the ultimates that have been spent in this fight, we've seen both primals committed, but we're at the very beginning of Guexe's primal. The primal from XQC got a DMAC, and that was really it for value. We've also seen sound barrier committed from China's side, and it looks like we've got nano out there as well. So definitely China's having to invest heavy in ults here. He's going deep. He's trying to get peeled. Meanwhile, Note's not in his favorite spot there. So Guexe has gone deep alone, but he's got Primal going, so we're not too worried about him. Meanwhile, Note is dead. That's the DMAC. China has a significant health lead, and they know it. They should just push out and clean this up. And I don't expect China to pursue too hard here. And the reason for that is Surefour's Hanzo's value is limited once they get into second point territory here, because the sight lines just aren't great for any sort of poke damage. But when we move over to between first and second tier, these sight lines are much better. Surefour can peek from up here. Surefour can peek over here. Surefour has a lot more he can do fighting in this no man's land, so I do not expect China to relentlessly try and hold them in their spot here. I expect them to actually back up and try to force the fight back onto second. And they lost Guexe, so that's another reason to do that. Like I mentioned earlier, Guexe is their only true frontliner, in that Guexe is the one who will go deep sometimes alone, but get that bubble, get other support, perhaps in the form of an armor pack. And Late Young will often not go with him. He'll just go in alone and do things, and they're okay with that because they're supporting him from afar. And then on their real commits, he's going to jump in behind their preferred target, still probably get that bubble, and the other 5 of them are going to go charging into that target that Guexe short to medium range leaped behind. So, did Canada make any swaps? No, but Canada, because China used ults, like we talked about a little more heavily than them last fight, Canada has the ultimate advantage here. So this would be a good fight to try and get value out of. That said, we're not looking at fantastic ults overall. We've got 3 support ults from Canada. Those are all good ults. Dragon isn't anything special. And then on China's side, we have Bigger Bang. So no support. Let me rephrase that. Crystal just used Rally. So Rally. And this is important. So now we see what they were doing. China wanted to play the Ana because they felt Ana could protect herself a bit better. So they were playing the Ana version of this comp that I call Protect the Zarya before they were playing Protect the Doomfist, but the Ana version of Protect the Zarya until they had Rally. And then once they had Rally, they had Sky go swap to Zen, so now he can come out and be a 300 HP Zen. And that makes sense. That's understandable. Still preferred he be on Zen the whole time and the team just pay a little more attention to protecting him. They do have the tools to do so between Lucio playing Peel, Lucio boops, amping up, Late Young having defense matrix, Late Young being able to boop, Crystal being able to boop, bash, and armor pack, and Leave having a bubble. Like, there are the tools if you are willing to use them to protect a 200 HP Zenyatta, but clearly what they were doing is they were waiting to swap onto the Zen until they had Rally to have the 300 HP Zenyatta.
I love teammates.
Canada matches with their Rally, but they still have Deanna. Let's rewind there because I think that was important in how that space was taken. So Guexe's holding the same spot he's been holding, but Surefour thought he might be holding there and wrapped around, since it's important that Surefour not get this space for free. Guexe was holding here. Surefour expected that, wrapped around, and is going to get a free arrow or two on Guexe as Note comes in to challenge him. So that's really nice. That's a good play from Canada. And Late Young, seeing that Guexe is in danger, decides, oh, I need to go help my other tank. We've got to win this high ground battle. This looks like it might be a little bit of a miscommunication, though. I don't think Late Young is wrong to go in and help. But Late Young then, as soon as he saw Guexe jump past him, didn't turn around and use the rest of his boosters to like go here and then drop under and loop out like that. He instead finished using his boosters and went all the way to here. And that looks like a mistake because now he's in the same situation Guexe was in. It's not world-ending bad because Guexe's bubble is still there and that's blocking Surefour out from getting any damage on him, at least immediately. But it's still not really where he wants to be since his other tank left him behind. That said, he's doing a good job of managing his falling there so that he falls where he needs to. He does not get the eat on this dragon, though, so that's going to come through and split the team. But Leave is going to decide that that's enough chaos to throw his grab. And where is Note? Note was in a place where he could have potentially eaten that grab, but chaos of the dragon, particle effects, understandable. One-person grab becomes a two-person grab. Either one of those is acceptable. That would have been plenty of damage to kill the grab, but Canada is going to go ahead and try to sustain through it with Sound Barrier. And China, looking at China, they've got some pretty solid damage onto that. This could be close. And we've nanoed XQC.
Feeling.
So now we're going to push China back pretty hard, it looks like. XQC is coming in as Nanomonkey. That's some nice wall riding, Yetval to get away there. And then on the other side, we have Guexe, still full health, would like to pick up the kill on Agilities, and Agilities is doom-fisted. Late Young is looking at him too. Agilities might die here. Okay, Agilities gets healed back up, so Crimso's on him. Nano Discorded XQC is working on Harmony Orb Crystal. That's not going to be a very fast win at all for XQC, and if Sky stays on XQC, that's going to not be a one duel in the slightest, because it's not really a duel. On the flip side, in here, and this is just so funny, we have Guexe in here with his bubble, with the Zarya bubble, going, I'm going to tie up 4 people. I've got this. Crimso tried to take the sleep dart shot, but again, we've got 2 bubbles, so that's definitely not happening. I don't think Guexe can actually pick up any kills here, but if he can zone these guys out for any amount of time without his life being in danger, they're going to burn through Nano Winston over here, which is terrifying. That Winston is nanoed, guys. I know the spectator UI is a little funny, but like... Okay, so they forced XQC to Primal there. Late Young throws the self-destruct. That looks like additional support for Guexe there, and that's not a bad idea. Like I said, they throw lots of resources into supporting their quote-unquote solo diving Winston, so that makes sense, but let's see one more time what that really is. Okay, so he's low health when he does that. So that's both. So that's a self-destruct to support Guexe, but it's also a big health swing in this battle. So we don't see a ton of this anymore, but people used to be very aware of how useful dive tank ultimates were when you were using dive supports, and that they swung a ton of HP into the battle. So, excuse me. If you're healing with just Zenyatta and Lucio, that's not very much healing, so a Winston suddenly popping Primal when he's low health, or a D.Va when she's down to like 200, 150 HP, like Late Young was there, remeching to summon a new 600 HP mech, is a big HP swing, and it's a big HP swing in a fight where your supports weren't going to be able to catch up on that missing HP in any realistic fashion, so it lets them put their HPS in other places. So that's a nice dual-purpose bomb, getting value from Late Young there. Four people back there continue to be zoned pretty well. Late Young does successfully remech. Now Note's discorded, and Note, instead of finishing his boosters over here, decides to come back in. He's discorded, and there is a moderately high energy Zarya, a D.Va, a Lucio, a Briggs, and a Zen in his vicinity. Bye, Note! So, China recognizes they have the advantage. That Primal may not have... Let me rephrase that. That Primal wasn't necessary. They shouldn't have Primaled there. They're going to push up and try to get value out of this. And that's that. So they should still back off, because Surefour's still on that Hanzo, and they don't want to fight in this no-man space against a team that has better poke. Okay, so now Canada's swapping into Sombra Doomfist Dive, and I want to talk about this for a moment, because I think what Canada's doing here is they're going, okay, that's a GOATS comp. It's 3 supports, 3 tanks, that's GOATS, so we beat it up with the GOATS counters. I don't see this as a GOATS comp. I see this as a Protect the McCree comp with Zarya in place of McCree, and the difference there is the amount of peel involved. So it may seem like, hey, there's not much difference, it's just Winston versus Ryan for a GOATS comp, but if I'm talking about peeling dive DPS, I would prefer to have a Winston to having a Ryan. So it is additional peel, and there's a lot of peel available to protect anyone that gets dove on. You've got that Zarya bubble, you've got that armor pack, you've got defense matrix, you've got that D.Va boop, you've got that Lucio boop, you've got amp, and you've got a Harmony Orb. Like, that's a lot, and that's not even putting in just normal damage as peel. That's going to come from the Winston, that's really easy to hit dive DPS with. That's going to come from the D.Va. That's going to come from the Zarya once she gets to any amount of high charge. So I really think Canada is misunderstanding what this comp from China is and potentially how it works. They can hold a lot of their peel resources and use it to peel to make agilities get very little value here, but we'll see what happens. Agilities is kind of going in alone there. Are both tanks up here? Yeah, both tanks are up there. Did Late even? Yeah, Late took damage from that. So you've uppercutted and slammed and punched. So you just all in agilities. Your tanks are going to help you get out, but you immediately have to leave because you're out of abilities. And you didn't get significant damage done to the tank. So you almost got through Late Young's armor, but you're almost dead there. So agilities was too early. He needed the rest of his tanks to land in there at the same time to get better value out of that. Meanwhile, in the background, while the tanks and agilities went up here, D.Va and Guexei fought down here. This is the thing that China does that is so cool. They went, our entire backline is like this mobile deathball force, kind of like it would be in Protect the McCree, hence me calling this a Protect the Zarya Cup. And they push in and go kill the other team's backliners. So they're just like, nope, we're a mini little deathball, and we're going to go come kill you as our, in this case, 4, since Steve was up there, but frequently 5 people. We're going to come in, push in, and kill you. And they have the tools. With a Discord Orb, a Briggs, like, you've got good tools to do that. And now, if they want to, they can stage and push up more aggressively because there's no significant range damage on Canada's side. So China's perfectly able to push up and hold this no man's land at least a bit more aggressively. They're not worried about getting folks down the same. Nice stagger kill on Surefour there. XQC's rotating in, and you can see their positioning is a little more aggressive. Their supports are actually playing over here where they have the sight line in. Their tanks are playing on top and totally willing to drop down in front like this. This is a bit more aggressive of a positioning between fights here. So that's just a soft dive from XQC, and that's safe enough. It's going to be hard for him to get punished. He can just back right around this corner. He still has his bubble available if he absolutely needs it, and Crimzo has a sight line on him. So nothing too dangerous there. Even if Crystal stuns him, he should be fine. But again, we're off sync. Like, XQC did what to me looked like a soft dive, and then Agilities goes in, but they're not synced up at the same time. And Agilities starts to back out, but immediately gets the Discord Orb on him, so XQC goes to body block for him. He got bursted down fast. He really did. I think Crimzo should have been able to get a little more healing on him, but he definitely did get burst down fast there, and he was really trying to help Agilities get out, so that's not like a bad XQC play there. I think the bad piece of that play was Agilities and XQC didn't commit their cooldowns at the same time for what really should have just been a soft dive there. But they need to leave now. Yeah, China's going to come out and run them over. Oh, they took pity on you, Note. There was absolutely no reason to kill you that fast. So here we are, pushing up. Crystal's holding pretty darn aggressive still. Ball's going to amp, and Crystal's holding aggressive because they had leave there. So let's go back because that's kind of important. Let's open this guy up real quick, and let's do this while we're at it. So I think it's pretty darn important what we saw here, and there's a reason for that. If we look at this, Surefour came out here, and Surefour, I mean, we can check Surefour's cam, but there's no reason Surefour shouldn't do. Yeah, so Surefour for sure sees that this positioning is even more aggressive than last time, and we can tell that because Crystal's up forward here. Hopefully he communicates that to his team. Surefour cannot see through walls and see that the Zarya is there, but that the position is even more aggressive than last time. That's a good suggestion that they have someone lurking. And someone lurking means someone sitting behind a choke that you're going to walk past that's going to hit you. So like a Reinhardt hitting you with that flank shatter as you walk past, that would be a lurking Reinhardt. And in this case, they have a lurking Zarya. So there's not much of a window here, but there's definitely time for Surefour to call Crystals here further up than usual. And there's a window where if Canada's truly at the top of their game, they realize what that means and then do a better job of playing around this grab here. Maybe they tried. Note defense matrix the right spot there, but then he looks away. So no, I don't think they realized that. Yeah. And that's just an easy cleanup because they hit a multi-person grab, and multi-person grabs into the grab nerf are way more than you need to get value out of it. So easy win. And just to point it out, now we can see that Crystal isn't holding up there anymore. Crystal's going ahead and rallying back there. Looks like Surefour's back on point.
Routing towards forward Zarya.
Pushing up. Surefour's going to go ahead and unstealth. I don't love this hack. So, it's an okay hack, and it's an okay hack in my mind because Skye has Transcendent. So you take away the ability of Skye to bail out of the duel with Transcendence and still probably get some decent Transcendence value by then pushing forward and healing his team. But if Skye didn't have Transcendence, all a hack on a Zenyatta does is take away their ability to move Harmony and Discord Orb. It doesn't stop them, it doesn't recall the Harmony and Discord Orbs, it just takes away their ability to move them. So Skye for sure already has his Harmony Orb out, like that's 100% a thing. In this case, he doesn't, I believe, have his, let's check that. Yeah, he doesn't have his Discord Orb out here, so if Surefour's hack is fast enough there, it's an even better hack than normal against a Zen. But as a general rule, I'm not... Oh, that's interesting. As I clicked off of Skye, time advanced an instant there because Skye was not hacked while I was on him, and now he is. Interesting. World Cup viewer things. So that's an okay hack, but it does mean that Skye gets additional time to react to Surefour. I'd have probably just tried to go for the kill there. But the reality is neither of those are terribly likely. Like, this just doesn't feel like the play from Surefour at all for me, unless the team comes in and plans to win with some specific ult here. I think he'd be better off finding a hack on Crystal, possibly even finding a hack on Leave to take away Bubbles, than he is finding a hack on Skye here and trying to duel Skye. You also don't farm ult charge fastest from trying to farm backliners. You farm ult charge faster trying to farm tanks. So, like, hack Leave and then shoot at him is going to get you more ult charge per trip than hacking Zenyatta is. Anyway, we're pushed in here, and he's not going to win that duel because Skye has 300 HP. Either one of these guys can turn around and help even slightly. Leave can be like, okay, I was going to bubble Gwexay, but I'll bubble you instead. Or he can just, like, lob 2 grenades, 2 right clicks in Surefour's direction. Crystal, same thing. Can be like, I was thinking about armor packing Gwexay, but I can get you instead. Or I can throw a whip shot in your direction, Surefour, and maybe connect on you with that. Like, no, this is not real. Or Crystal has rally speed, can back up for a second to refresh a little bit of Skye's armor. Like, I don't see any way that Surefour gets serious value out of this hack. Up here, they're doing the fight for high ground control. That's fine for both of them. Neither team is wrong to be doing that. Kenda can win this if Agilities comes up with them. If Agilities does not come up with them, the additional ranged support that is available in the form of Bubbles from Leave is going to lead to China's tanks generally winning this. And you see the armor pack did go on to Late Young there. The Harmony Orb is on Late Young. They had better ranged support to help out their tanks up top. So they won that high ground control. And here we are. This is actually really nice from Gwexay again. So Gwexay goes deep. He knows armor pack's been used. He knows he's not going to get that, but he goes, nope, I'm going to go deep. So he goes behind the Anna that he'd like to deal with. And now she's just in a devil's choice of a situation here. If she tries to get out of her bubble this way, she's running right into the Winston. It's going to take her forever to run out of the bubble this way. Running out this way is still going to require her to take a long time to get around. She can't help her team. Gwexay has boxed her in, and she's just kind of in trouble here. Agilities, I don't really think this was Peel to come get Gwexay. I think this was him leaving, but now he's here, and Gwexay is in this 3v1. So let's see if he's able to get good value here, because this comp requires him to get good value tying up multiple people. Usually he gets pretty good range support in the form of Bubbles and such from his team. I think he's going... No, he's not going to struggle to get that, because his team is already pushing up behind him. Skye and Yetval are much further back than is normal for how they run this comp, but Leave may have a bubble for him, and that's probably all that he needs to win this. well, win this. He won't kill them, but the rest of his team will push up as they offer support, and they'll get kills as they push up to him since he's tying up so many people.
Time to wait.
Okay, so since they didn't have armor pack to give him, Late Young goes deeper than usual to help him, and then he goes, nah, fuck it, I'm not getting the support I'd usually get, so I'll just primal. And is China just going to turn and kill Note? They are, because their entire backline runs forward. Even Sky, who was just on point, is already up here. Like, China's backline, or midline in this case, because they don't really have a backline, knows how to push up with their team to really get great value here.
60 seconds remaining.
Game on.
And again, they can afford to push up here. This is even more aggressive than last time because Canada doesn't have poke damage on them, so they don't need their terrain advantage. Agility swaps over to the Zarya with 47 seconds left. I don't think that's the play. And you're swapping off Briggs, so you're not picking up more peel. You could be picking up more damage, but the way China's comp works, you're not actually going to get a ton of energy off of them. So Guexei jumps into like 1v3s and 1v4s, so they kind of have to deal with him. So his Zarya bubbles get attacked by and large, but no one on China's side really has to attack Zarya bubbles, because if Guexei is attacking you and you have a Zarya bubble, it's Tesla cannon, and you're not going to get a ton of charge off of it if it's just Tesla cannon. And if you're in China's backline, using bubbles on things in China's backline, China has so much peel back there. I really think Agilities is going to struggle to get energy here, much more so than Leave has, but he's also only got 45 seconds, so. Where did that just happen? Oh. Oh, got it. Well, let's rewind and rush that. I think I remember that, and I think that's just an unlucky. I want to go back a bit further. Yeah. That's not planned. Surefour just happens to get unstealthed by Guexei jumping back.
Routing power to forward barrier.
He warps out, but they see where he warped out to. He's dead. Unlucky. And actually unlucky, not bad planning like most people. Maybe unlucky. So, sound barrier, when you're on top of the enemy's spawn, from China's perspective, usually that's not the play. It's not. It's too good of an ult to be wasting on their spawn unless you know that it's going to get more ults out of them, and in this case it does. But I don't hate it here because there's less than 30 seconds left. So if you use Sound Barrier to win the fight, it's over. You win. Canada cannot get more than one person, more than two people to the point if you get multiple kills, effectively win this team fight here. So this is fine in this situation. And Banny answers, but Sureforce in spawn, and Agilities doesn't get it. So there's generally a principle of the later Sound Barrier is better with how Sound Barrier quickly ticks off. That stops being true if you get less people with your Sound Barrier.
No.
But China's going to hard retreat anyways, so they may not be realizing, or they may have called the retreat before Late Young was able to communicate that. Oh no, Agilities did get the Sound Barrier there. So the way Sound Barrier works, you can apply it to your team, but it kind of lasts for an extra second. Lucio continues to project it, so if he moves to gain additional line of sight on someone, it'll do another one. So, okay. And China's going to do the kite backwards thing. and they have grab and self-destruct and transcendence. So EMP or grab can potentially win this fight. And Surefour is just now coming back from spawn, so really China's looking to hit grab early. And if Leave wants to like walk right up here and hit it on this corner, it's kind of obvious, but there's not a ton China can do about it, or a ton Canada can do about it. Like looping out super far is just going to make them take more damage. So they trans, and with that trans, they push back up. They hit grab, they threw self-destruct, nothing matters anymore, that's the game. Or that's the round. Yep.
10 seconds remaining.
One cannot survive.
Team kill.
So I really like this comp. I actually think that this comp that China is running might become the meta for second point defense Anubis. Like, that is the composition you run. The weakness at this moment in time, to me, looks like Protect the McCree comps, and Protect the Hanzo is a valid version of Protect the McCree, so that looks like the weakness to me, but you can't get great value out of those comps on Anubis second, so you're kind of insured against your counter like that. So I'm thinking until the meta changes, we might see quite a bit more of that. We might see quite a bit more of that in general, but specifically on Anubis second, I think that could very well be the way to play the game. Okay, let's skip forward a little here since we're in the planning stage.
Red.
부스터 온.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, I'm just going to let them come out of spawn and see if they stick.
Defend objective
Winston
A.
left spawn, so I'm going to decide it's real. So, Canada's running a bunker, and I hate that. I really feel like bunkers are just too easy to counter now. The strategy that Fusion ran on Anubis, yes, they did it on a patch where Winston had bugged jump pack damage, but even without that bug, it still wins a significant amount of the time in one push. So you run it, you try and take it first push. If you don't, you probably still take it second push. It doesn't have a very long staging time. It can push pretty quickly. So you can just take first within like a minute. And then you have to make one, maybe two swaps. Your Hammond hops over to Sombra, and your Zenyatta maybe hops over to Lucio. But your Zenyatta doesn't even have to hop over to Lucio. You could be greedy and stay on the Ana Zen backline, so then you only make one swap. Whereas from the bunker's perspective, to get to a legitimate comp, they almost have to swap to Protect the McCree, so they keep their Zenyatta. Junkrat or Hanzo can stay if they have ultimate, but if they don't have ultimate, they're going to need to swap to Briggs and Winston. Your Widow's going to have to swap to McCree. So so Diva and Zen are the only ones that for sure get to stay. So you have to swap 4 heroes, and if you decide to go double boost, a legitimate variant of Protect the McCree, and a pretty good one for Anubis second, since speeding around the point with Lucio to deny tanks isn't as important as it is on other maps or game modes like King of the Hill. So you have to swap 4, maybe 3 heroes to get to Protect the McCree, and that's pretty much the only thing you can swap to, whereas the attackers, if they're running the bunker bust comp that they should, probably break you within a minute and get to swap 1, maybe 2 heroes. Like, holding for a minute on first is not acceptable, and having to reset your ult economy, you're way too likely to get snowballed. It's just not acceptable. That said, this is what Canada's doing. It's a bunch of Overwatch League players, and this was popular in the Overwatch League, so I kind of understand it. If they do want to do this comp, I'd at least like them to make the same adaptation Team France made, where they put their Widow up here with a Diva and a Mercy, and they throw their Orisa shield up here, and they try to spawn camp. Because that's at least going to buy you some more time. It can force the team to push away your team, do a kind of soft dive up here, and then wait on cooldowns before they can push up to here. Meanwhile, your Widow just gets to grapple back to here, and by the time they wait on cooldowns, your Widow's halfway back to grapple. They can't directly dive her from here anyways, so she's still safe. Like, if you're determined to run the bunker, run it France style and put your little forward hold up here. That said, from China's perspective, they're running the same comp Canada ran on attack for first point, and it's a good comp for taking first points in general. I'd prefer that they run bunker bust, but this is fine because they can execute solid enough dives to break a bunker with this comp, and eventually, even if things aren't working out, they'll get EMP and Nanoblade, and that'll win it for them, even if they mess up all their dives before then. So this is a reasonable first push, or a reasonable opening comp.
8 p.m.
Okay, so that's a downgrade. Swapping your Sombra for Doomfist doesn't really help your composition. Yes, you can still execute a combo with this comp where you slam a 200 HP target, you shoot it with your little hand cannon as Doomfist, your Genji dashes through it, and if the target's not dead, you uppercut it, shoot it with the hand cannon, and punch out, and your Genji pops deflect if necessary to stay alive, and then once the kill comes through, dashes out. So, like, that DPS combo with these dive tanks has a play, but it's not as good as running Doomfist Sombra or as good as running Sombra Genji. I really think they're just doing this because Leave is a god at playing Doomfist, and I don't think it's right. It's also definitely not better at breaking bunkers than other options. So I'd have liked the Sombra Genji comp because eventually you charge ults and you just win. If you weren't going to run Sombra Genji and wanted to make a swap, I'd have liked to see Genji Tracer because that actually is better at properly getting around, spreading out your flankers, and then precision doing what you need it to do. And even better still would have been the bunker bust. So this is like my fourth choice in terms of comps that China could run to break this. But whatever, they're going to do it and maybe they'll get value. If you run Tracer, Tracer can take this right flank and it's pretty much impossible to deny her. And when your dive comes through on the Tracer, on the bunker, your Tracer can dart across and get on Widow. And then Widow's tied and distracted and there's not a ton she can do about that. So that's one example of why Tracer's better than Doomfist here. Doomfist cannot get in through right side from attacker's perspective for free. Okay, they got the pick, so that's going to delay Canada. Excuse me, that's going to delay China. Good job on Canada. Get another kill, and then they just have to rotate out there. They built up a pretty fast nano for China. Lots of healing in that lost fight. But we've got Tyre on Canada's side. We're pretty close to Vision, and we're pretty close to Valk as well. So we can just shut this down this next push if they get in with Tyre. And they commit nano. So as soon as they commit nano, you decide this is a real push, and you're willing to commit Tyre. And as long as you get a kill with Tyre, you're probably in pretty good shape. I do, in the grand scale of things, rate Nano as a higher tier ultimate than Tyre since the Tyre nerf and since Nano got buffed. But in this particular situation, since you're not pairing Nano with Blade, and Tyre getting a kill is pretty much going to end the push. You're probably okay with that. So he takes the easy kill on Crystal. Fine. Guexay drops as if it was a soft dive. I guess he had to do that for health reasons. I want to re-see that push because it's kind of weird to me.
I'm feeling
Nano. Yetfall peaked more than he needed to. This was a mistake. So Sky had to peek to Nano Winston because he doesn't want to Nano Winston before he jumps. He wants to Nano Winston when he's most of the way in, after Winston's had a chance to take some damage. But Yetval didn't need to peek there, and Yetval took some Zen Orbs and it looks like maybe a Widow body shot for doing so. Yetval could very well be dead right now, and there's no reason for him to have even taken damage. And what I mean by that is Yetval can stand right here with Speed Aura, and Speed Aura lingers on people that leave your aura for a little bit. So his tanks could like walk around and dive from right here, and they'd still get the effects of his Speed Aura even as they left the aura for a little bit of time there. So there was no need for him to peek. But we've got the Nano. He's low. Late Young is kind of there, and Leave is probably going to uppercut up and try and slam past the barrier. Okay, makes sense to me. And then Kristen's going to get killed by that. So let's take a look at Sky here. So I said I didn't want Yetval to peek before, but as soon as this Winston bubble goes down, I want both supports to peek and offer as much as they can into it. Because now, if we go back to Surefour's sightline, you know what, we can just lock Surefour from this. Why am I trying to mimic his sightline? Oh, come on, Surefour, let me see. Whatever. So if we look at Surefour's sightline, the bubble's in the way. So Sky and Yetval can now be back here, and Yetval can ride up now and help behind the bubble. And Sky should just dump his abilities, because this bubble's only going to last 2-3 seconds against a Junkrat and a Orisa, like that, and a Diva. Like, that bubble's not going to last very long. So Sky wants to unload as much value as he can while Surefour doesn't have a sightline on him. So if we look from Sky's perspective, that looks like that's going to be my F5 key. Sky hasn't used Nade or Sleep yet. So I'd have liked Sky to pretty much just dump abilities. Nade should already be out there, and he should be trying to line up a Sleep Dart right now and just shoot it. And if it hits a shield, if it gets eaten by Matrix, oh well, that's life. It doesn't matter. You don't need these to protect yourself, because no one on Canada's team can come out to contest you. Diva's the only one with the mobility to do so. Sometimes Junkrats will wander, but once you've attacked the bunker like that, it's just not going to happen. They need to be in the bunker providing their Matrix and their damage, and they're not going to leave to come kill you. So dump your abilities. You don't need them to protect yourself. Got more out of the tire than the Nano, so Canada can push. Oh, let's slow this back down to normal speed. Surefour, cheeky mine. When you dive our bunker, you're going to take extra damage. It's cute. The other option, of course, is the mine over here. That's the Genji mine. Or the mine over here, that's the Tracer mine. He might wish he had the Tracer mine over here, because Canada seems to have lost track of Leave. So Leave can't get in there for free like Tracer can. Leave has no business still being there. He just got there in the chaos after the fight, and Canada very clearly doesn't know he's there. So he could come over and kill Surefour here, while Surefour's looking this way. That's a very real threat. That might be how China breaks this point. If that doesn't happen, they don't have ults yet. They could get Blade in the middle of a fight, but it was a stretch, and Nano's not ready to back it up. And Canada has Valkyrie. Yeah, Canada should be able to hold this unless Leave comes over and kills Surefour, and then it's a different ballgame. So that bubble was bad, and the reason that bubble was bad is because it's here, it falls to the ground. That means Sky cannot peek for free. Fortunately for Sky, Leave is on Surefour, so Surefour is rather distracted. Let's go back to OWWC's perspective, because I want to see what blocked him. Or did he get halted? Did the halt not get eaten?
I'm securing the objective.
He got booped by Note. So that was a good play by Note. So you can eat halts, and that obviously stops them from working, but there's really not a ton you can do about the Diva Boop as she's coming out to stop the Winston. So that's just a good play by Note. And Leave has not picked up the kill on Sure 4, and because Note was able to interrupt that, we have Banny up here helping Sure 4 back up. Sure 4's also got the pocket from the Harmony Orb, and Sure 4 does not have a wall behind him. Leave, you're in trouble. Oh, picked up the kill on Agilities, though. Tanks have solid positioning established. Going to allow the res for Banny. Should be just fine here for Canada. Okay, so far Canada's had a much better hold on first than China did. Canada took first within a minute. So we're going for the same play. We haven't established any flank control. This is just like a straight dive. If you're gonna do this straight dive, I want you to use 3 tanks, darn it. He comes to the side here. That gives him a little more protection against Note's pathing, but it also makes his bubble placement a little worse in that only this arch is protected, not this arch, but Sky's pre-positioned for that. But now we've got Supercharger and Velt going. That should be fight over. Supercharger plus Valk, and China can't Nanoblade yet. Can Primal, but that just delays the inevitable. Canada should win with those 2 ults. So China decides to answer with Sound Barrier, and because of the Supercharger's positioning, it's going to get destroyed immediately, isn't it? Yeah. So Superchargers, you want to cover a bit better, use a bit of natural terrain, like have your Supercharger here, or have your Supercharger here, or even have your Supercharger here. Like those all help a little bit for protecting your Supercharger. It also probably should have gone down a touch earlier than it did, but that's okay. So now it's just Valk to last through the Sound Barrier. Everyone's in pretty good health shape, so we didn't get enough value from the Supercharger damage boost for the few seconds it was up to when combined with Valk outdo the Sound Barrier there. So I actually think that we've lost a mech on Canada's side. That still looks like a China win to me. Yeah, they pick up the kill on Crimzo, and then they decide to go for the Blade. We still have Nano. And then we Nano, and there was no chance that was hitting Crystal from Sky's perspective, so that was a decision, right? Sky, you're down here? Yeah, there was no chance you were hitting Crystal, so that was a decision to Nano Guexei. That wasn't an accident. Definitely didn't need that Nano to win this fight. 100%. The Blade was questionable. The Nano was absolutely unnecessary.
I'll show them.
Okay. Canada's going to have to make swaps. Canada has already made those swaps. Yeah, so XQC over to Winston, Sure4 over to Hanzo, Crimson gets to stay, Note gets to stay, Banny over to Anna, and Agility's over to Briggs. So they're playing Protect the Hanzo again. The sight lines are a bit better on defense than they are on offense, so that's not awful. I still don't like picking Anna over Zen. Doesn't work for me. And China is going to swap into... They swapped into Protect the Doomfist. I don't think that's real. I think that's just, hey, this is Leave's comfort pick, and we have Meteor Fist, and someone probably said, "Hey, let's go protect the Zarya," and Leave went, "But Meteor Fist," and everyone rolled their eyes. Like that's how I kind of expect comps
I'm
went.
gonna have to shoot you down.
I'm underselling it a little bit. Like the kill boxes are pretty okay because it's so close quarters here for Doomfist, but I think they should be on Zarya. Or they could go full goats. Full regular goats would be just fine against Canada's comp here too. Okay, rotating in. Looking at this, let's talk about ults. So we are now looking at Meteor Fist versus Transcendence. Transcendence is definitely the better ult there, but any buts? No, no buts. So the way that China would want to take this fight is China, looking from here, is going to need to contest Surefour over there. So what they need to do is they need Guexei to just dive up here, and Surefour's going to retreat from that. So send Guexei up here. Surefour probably retreats like over this way or something. Then let Guexei fall down and push on Zenyatta. And if Crimzo drops over here, all of Canada should rush in and kill. Oh, all of Canada should already be rushing in as if this was the Protect the Zarya comp in my mind to go kill Crimzo. If Crimzo drops the other way instead, they should still already be rushing because then Guexei swaps targets one more time and swaps to Banny. That's how I'd want this to go. Guexei will almost certainly need either Late Young to dive with him, which is not how China usually plays this, or we'll need the Harmony Orb and the Armor Pack to be able to push out Surefour and then swap targets twice like that. But that's what I would like to do. From Canada's perspective, stand here, shoot at them, Banny pocket Surefour, win. They're going to drop a Winston bubble that's going to take away the ability to pocket Surefour. At that point, Surefour leaves, but Surefour wants to like hop over to here and then continue raining damage in. And that's how Canada wants to win this fight. Okay, so China, they're on the Doomfist comp, not the Zarya comp. They're rotating in here, and that's good for them because there's no way that Canada wants to take a full close range fight in here while they have the Hanzo and while China has the Doomfist. So that's a good rotation from them. Surefour probably hops across and wanders out and just shoots from here and does his job. That's probably how they want to answer this because these guys aren't applying point pressure. Alternatively, Surefour stays exactly where he is, and both of Canada's dive tanks commit in on Sky and kill Sky because Sky missed the rotation, wasn't there to rotate with them, and he is very killable. XQC instead goes to take this fight rather than diving over here to take this. That's a mistake in my mind. Maybe they just don't see it. Okay, at this point you have to hard focus the Doomfist. Hard focus the Doomfist. Doomfist gets Armor Pack and then Meteor Strike. Fine. Sky's position doesn't suck anymore because his team came back out for him.
Into the eye.
That's a self-destruct. Okay. Pushing out here. Crimzo's going to go ahead and use Transcendence, but we've already lost Surefour, and Hanzo is incredibly important. Having the hero that you're pocketing, the ranged DPS, he makes up a huge portion of their damage in this comp, so him missing is very problematic. That said, if we can get a kill on Late Young, and we can, that looks like a kill. That remix shouldn't come through in time. Then that's okay, because we're on Defender's spawn. Canada may just be able to win this out with Brawl power, or with respawn power. XP dies. And China wants to double down with Sound Barrier that doesn't hit Late Young. I know, Late Young's back in spawn. So looking at that, do we have enough point pressure to last through this? Probably. We're going to lose Note's mech doing it, but yeah, we can last through this. Oh, that was close. Discord. Crimzo's Discord and Agilities connect on Crystal to almost pick up that kill, and then Agilities gets the whip shot as he's being knocked away. Nice shot. Okay, so that should break this. You guys invested your sound barrier, but you just lost 2 supports. Respawn advantages give you too much. And now Leave swaps over to Zarya. No, okay, no, just remacking. Looking at ults in this next push, China's going to have Transcendence and Primal. If they get into a brawl, Rally will come online pretty early in the fight. And Canada has Nano, Primal, and Dragon. Dragon is not fantastic, but there is the potential to catch China in rotation. And Canada has answered the swap to Zarya with a swap to Doomfist because they still think this is goats. Okay. So China just wants to rotate their way in without taking too much damage, which would usually mean a dark room push. A dark room push is a little dangerous with Dragon, but China has speed amp available. Just hold speed amp in case they Dragon, and you should be okay. And Canada does not have their own speed amp to take advantage of as much advantage as you would usually be able to of a great split Dragon. So they want to path in, probably through left side is safe then, or the best answer then to get in while taking minimal spam damage from the Hanzo. Yes, you are worried about Doomfist coming in, but I don't really think they're going to full commit to fighting you in here because the Canadian Hanzo can't do any work. So yeah, I'd go in Dark Room. They want to go mid. Whatever. Where is Surefour? Oh, Surefour just swapped to Zarya. Weird. What are you hoping to get with that Zarya swap? I don't think you know what to do about China's comp. Because I'm not understanding what you want out of that Zarya swap. You're going to have a harder time getting energy than China is. Yeah. So, XQC and Agilities come in. Was that going in? Let's watch that one more time. I want to see what... Did he miss the slam, or was that a slam to get out of a fight he was already in? So Agilities punches, then uppercuts, and then the slam is to get out. So he double-abilid his Guexe. They're coming in. Guexe goes in, gets the bubble, and is going to... Surefour can probably run right past him, but he's going to try and lock the supports out of the fight, and he has the bubble. But he did lose a fair amount of health, so we might not be able to do it. He does have the Harmony Orb too, though. On the flip side, XQC and Agilities are both back here. XQC will not get as many resources invested in him. They don't even have sightlines to invest as many resources in him. I expect China to just peel XQC with damage, and Agilities just used all of his cooldowns. Punch will be back first, but I don't know that he has it yet. He doesn't. So XQC probably just melts. Nope, XQC primals. Yeah, ults, right. I did mention he had primal at the beginning of the fight. Fine. Sky, who came up here, Sky and Yetval rotated incredibly far forward. I would like them to be back here with the team a little more. Like, the team should push in aggressively as a group, but I'd prefer them to be back here. He's going to pop Transcendence, and that's going to heal back up Guexe. So now Canada will have Nano as the next ult, and China has Rally and Primal coming up. Is XQC actually accomplishing anything with his Primal, or is it just going to have been a safety? Crypto. And XQC did not find any kills with his Primal. Guexe pops his Primal and kills the second support, and that's probably the end. Late Young will lose mech here, but I don't think it matters.
Pass into the iris.
Come on. Defense matrix activated.
Nice pin there, XQC.
All systems checked out.
Clean up. Okay, so that's that. The one thing, or not the one thing, in summary, I think what was important here was how China played their Protect the Zarya comp, because that was what we saw probably the most footage time on. And why they were able to do that so well is because Guexe would go into the back line, lock out both supports, lock out maybe more than both supports, and stop them from providing value, while getting ranged investment from his team in the form of bubbles, armor packs, harmony orbs, etc. And the rest of his team would either just use still the remaining 5 bodies damage to peel things off of their own backline, or they would push in hard to the supports that he was working on and go push through and, get kills as they kind of do that pincer formation there. So they very much moved up as a unit. So that was really cool. I haven't done a video on Protect the Zarya, of course, so this isn't as succinct as a video on that would be, but I thought this was a really cool match, and I thought this match mattered. Both because it got China to the finals, so that was really good progress for China since they haven't done great in previous World Cups, and it mattered because we got to see Canada steal their comp, use their comp to beat UK in the bronze medal match. So seeing how China drove it was important because Canada almost exclusively drove it in the hard short range dive with it way, and less in the Winston get good poke tie up supports while we do damage in our own backline way. But anyway, that's the video. If you guys have questions, let me know, and I will talk to you soon. Temporal out.